And there it is. So section 4.3, number 1, factor 8x squared plus 2x. Okay. What is factoring? What is factoring?
Is it what you can pull out of, like...
Yeah, when you pull out stuff to the front. Right. Factoring is reverse multiplying. That's basically what they're asking us to do. They're saying, hey, what was this thing before it was multiplied? What was out front? And what would multiply back, with a plus sign in the middle, to distribute back and go back to be this? That's basically what they're asking. Like, what was it that was distributed, multiplied, and became 8x squared plus 2x? So, how could we figure that out? Well, how do you know what goes in the front? What goes out? What goes right there? Yeah, it's whatever goes into both 8x squared and 2x. Like what goes into 8 and 2? What number goes evenly into 8 and 2? 2. Well, 2. And then what do you do with the x? This is x squared, and this is x to the first. Which one do you take? Always the lower one. X to the first. Take the lower power. Why? Because that's what they have in common, right? If one person has $1 and the other has 2, they both have 1. Right? That's what they have in common, the lower amount. We're taking out what's called the GCF. That means greatest common factor. It's the most they have in common. So they have in common x to the first. The lower powers, the amount they both have in common. So, all right, so that's what goes in the front. How do you know what goes on the inside of the parentheses? Whatever works, right? You just remember, how do you multiply x kind of things? What happens? Out front numbers multiply, powers add. Remember that? So that was in the homework. 2x times what? We'll go back to 8x squared. 2 times 4, and we need x to the 1 because powers add. And then for the second one, 2x times what? We'll go back to 2x. 1. Just need a 1 there, huh? 2x times 1 is 2x. And that's it. We're done. Here's the answer. We factored it. We unmultiplied it. Good? Okay, so number 2. So 12a squared minus 4a to the 4th. So try that one. So do the parentheses, put in front whatever is in common, whatever goes into both of those. Yeah. So what goes into 12 and into 4? 4 does. And then what power on the a do I put in the front? The lower one, huh? So 4a squared? And then what goes on the inside? 4a squared times what will go back to 12a squared? Just the 3. And 4a squared times what?
8a squared.
Just a squared. Because power's add. And there we go. We just unmultiplied it. Found out what it was before it was multiplied.
Now you know everything.
We good? All is well? Is all well? How many got that? Let's see how well all is. Many got it. Okay, maybe 2/3. Questions I can answer? Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah, you're right, though. Negative in front, you got to pull out a negative. Yeah, we'll get to that. Okay, so we have 5c squared minus 5c minus 15. Okay, so this is the same thing. Going to put big parentheses, something in the front, 3 things on the inside. Right? So try that one. Give you a second there. Okay, so what goes into all 3 of those? 5. Now, what about the C? What do we do with the letter stuff? Yeah, they don't all have a C, do they? The last one, the 15, he's got no letter at all. So they don't all have a C in common. So just the 5 goes in the front. No letter is in common to all of them. Just the number. Okay, so now 5 times what? C squared would go back to that. 5 times minus C, or, yeah, just minus C. You can put a 1 there if you want. I mean, you don't really need it. And then 5 times, oops, I'm erasing everything. 5 times minus 3. Just like that. We good? Easy enough? Just unmultiply. All right, so 4, what is that? S to the 5th plus 12 S to the 3rd minus 24S minus 20. Okay, so it's the same thing. Just, big old parenthesis. Something goes in the front, 4 things on the inside. Whatever works. So what number goes into all those? 4. And we can't put any letters out front because the 20 at the end doesn't have any letters at all. So there's no letters in common, just the number 4. And then we're going to have 4 things on the inside, right? So 4 times S to the 5th and 4 times plus 3x cubed and 4 times minus 6s. Use calculator if you're rusty on some of these. And 4 times minus 5. That's a 5. My 5s look like s's. There we go. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. It's whatever would multiply. No questions? I'll keep moving. Okay, so we have 8x to the 4th, y to the 7th, z to the 3rd, just a bunch of letters, plus 12, x to the 5th, y to the 5th, z to the 5th, minus 16, x to the 3rd, y to the 6th, z to the 4th. All right, so give it a try. So big old parenthesis. Put in the front whatever's in common. All right, so what goes into 8, 12, and 16? 4 does. And then, okay, so for x, we have what? X to the 4th, x to the 5th, x to the 3rd. We take the lowest one, don't we? Yes. So x to the 3rd. Now for y, same thing. Look at the 3 y's and take the lowest one. So the lowest y, what is it? We got y to the 7th, y to the 5th, y to the 6th, and y to the 5th, right? And then for z, same thing. Take the lowest one. Z to the 3rd, Z to the 5th, Z to the 4th, so Z to the 3rd. We all good? All right, now put what goes inside, whatever will work. And so 4 times what? 2. And then powers add. So I need x to the 1, or just x, y to the second, and that's it. I don't need any z's. That will multiply and go back to that term, won't it? Everybody good so far? Right? Out front numbers multiply, powers add. Good so far. And then the next one, so that can be 4 times 3, x2, no y's, z, z2. Didn't even need any y's there, huh? Because they already had enough y's? Good. And then the last one, 4 times... Oh, it's supposed to be a minus there, isn't it? Better fix that. And 16. Don't need any x's. Y to the first, or just y, and z to the first, or just z. And there we go. Yeah. Everything good on that? No questions? All is well? So they want me to factor minus 3y minus 12. All these are factor. So this time, that one looks pretty easy. The only thing about it is when you have a minus in the front, that means factor out minus and all signs switch. All signs switch. So what goes first off, what goes into 3 and 12? 3. But I'm going to put minus 3 because the front term was negative. It's all about that front term. So if that front term is negative, you bring out a negative. And what that'll cause to happen is it'll cause all the signs inside the parentheses to switch. You don't have to remember that, though. It's still just the same old rule it always was. It's whatever works. So minus 3 times what goes back to minus 3y? Well, just plain old y. And minus 3 times what goes back to minus 12. Negative times what is negative 12? Positive 4. See how the sign switched in the middle? Just because that works, right? Negative 3 times positive 4 goes back to negative 12, huh? So it switches all the signs on the inside. But you don't have to remember that. You can just make it work, and that's always right. Good on that one? So when there's a negative in the front, pull out a negative. All the signs inside switch. So minus 2a to the 5th plus 12a to the 4th. So same thing. So it's got a minus in the front, doesn't it? That's a 5 up there. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to take out minus 2, but what else? What power on a do I take out?
4.
A to the 4, because the lower one, huh? Yeah, perfect. Okay, what goes on the inside? Whatever works, huh? Minus 2a to the 4th times a to the 1, or just plain a if you want, huh? Because the powers add there. They'd add to go back to 5. Is that good? And then remember, the signs inside are going to switch. Minus times minus is going to go back to plus 12. So 2 times 6, and you don't need any a's because I already got a to the 4th on it. Is that good? All is well there. Questions I can answer? All right. So we've got minus 5b to the 5th plus 15b to the 4th minus 25b plus 20. So same thing, this time 4 terms. Put in the front whatever goes into all those. All right. What goes into all those? And you got to do negative, huh? Because the front one's negative. So whatever the front one's negative, got to take out negative. And 5 goes into all those. And we don't put any B's because they don't all have a B. The last one doesn't have any letter at all. They don't have B in common. Not to all of them. All right. Good so far? You ready? 4 terms. Here we go. Negative 5 times what? We'll go back to negative 5b to the 5th. We'll just b to the 5th. Yeah. And negative 5 times what? Negative 3. B to the 4th, because negative times negative will be positive. There. And negative times positive. See how all the signs are changing inside? They're all switching. Negative 5 times positive 5b. Be negative 25b. And negative 5 times negative 4 will go back to positive 20. All the signs inside switched. And there we go. So this is easy for you, right? This is the easy chapter. This is the happy exam. This will be the best one. The highest scores will be on exam number 2. Then exam 3 is about like exam 1, about the same. Then 4 and 5 are a bit harder because logs and harder material. Math is always about patterns. So let me help you see the pattern and you'll know what to do. So it's R parentheses C minus 3 plus Z parentheses C minus 3. Right? Yeah. So, and they want me to factor that. They want me to factor. What are they talking about? Well, suppose, let me just change the question over here on the side for a second. Suppose somebody gave you this question. They said, hey, I want you to factor Rx plus Zx. You could do that super easy, huh? You could factor that. In fact, let me space it out a little bit more so I can make the example work for what I'm trying to do. Yeah, if somebody gave you, whoops, what did I do? I switched it. Somebody gave you that. You would do it. You would just look at these 2 terms, do the parenthesis. What would you put in the front? X, because they both have an X. And then, yeah, what goes in the inside? R plus Z, and that's right, and you're done, right? Piece of cake. Well, do you realize this is exactly the same thing? It's just a bigger version. Math is patterns. It's the science of patterns. That's all it is. Do you see what I mean? Now, let me show you. What if they put a parenthesis? I know the parentheses are probably what's throwing you off. What if they put a, let's go back to this simpler example again. What if they put a parenthesis X on both? We'd go, okay, so what? They both have a parenthesis. They'll put a parenthesis X in the front. Whatever. Same thing. That one parenthesis X could go boom and boom, and it's good, right? And that'd be correct. Okay, what if it, are you good so far? What if instead of a parenthesis X, they made it a parenthesis C minus 3, C minus 3? See, that's our question. I'd go, okay, so what? Put a parenthesis C minus 3 in the front. See how it's exactly the same? It's just a pattern. It's just a pattern, right? You just say, look, they both got a parenthesis C minus 3. If they both have an X, or they both have a W, or they both have a parenthesis X, or a parenthesis W, or a parenthesis C minus 3, whatever. Whatever they both have in common, you just put it in the front, even if it's got its own little personal set of parentheses. Those go in the front, and then you start a new set that had nothing to do with the other set, right? There's always a following ending parenthesis, isn't there? What goes on the inside? Whatever works. C minus 3 times what? We'll go back to that. Well, R. And C minus 3 times what? We'll go back to that. Well, Z. Done. See, that's the same thing. They're just trying to make it look fancier with an extra parenthesis in there. It's the same exact pattern. Exactly the same. Common mistake over the years, I've seen people go, no, Mr. There's got to be 2 here because there's 2 of these. No, it's never what we did back here, right? Over here, well, look back here. Well, it's hard to, never mind. It's not true. That I can't show it that way easy, but because this 1 will go back to both. It's called distribution. That's always how distribution has worked, right? Just 1 whatever goes back to both. It's never been about counting how many there are originally. Everybody has 1. 1 in the front goes back to everybody, right?
Does the signs in the middle change?
What's that?
Does the signs in the middle change?
No.
No.
No, that's only when you take something out that has a negative in the very front. Like if we had a negative like here. We didn't do that. All right. Okay. So there you have it. So 2x squared parenthesis c minus 4. Oh, this is such a dumb one. Yeah, let me do this one with you real quick. This is a really dumb one. I don't know why they did this. All right. Think with me let's just stop all the factoring stuff for just a minute. And let's just say, I mean, those are identical, right? Well, I guess we could factor. All right, well, I'll do it the factoring way. So what do they have in common? Everything. They're twins, right? So, okay, so put everything in the front, right? That's true, isn't it? Start a new set of parentheses. This is going to be kind of dumb, right? They have everything in common, so put everything in the front. What goes on the inside? Whatever works. What works? 2x squared c minus 4 times what? We'll go back to that. Well, 1, right? Because it's identical. And 2x squared c minus 4 times what? We'll go back to that. Well, 1. It's kind of dumb, huh? And what is, right? Good so far. I mean, isn't that true? And what's 1 plus 1? 2. So, we're almost there. This is a dumb problem. So 1 plus 1 is 2. So that's 2. You agree with me? 1 plus 1 is just 2. Okay, so then what? Well, I don't know if you can, my writing looks kind of bad here. This is a C. Okay, 2 times 2, just put those together, right? You guys know you can, the order of multiplying never matters. 2 times 3, 3 times 2, 6 either way you do it, never matters, right? So just bring this 2 and put it over here. Doesn't matter. What is 2 times 2 in the front then? 4. Done. Do you see that? That's kind of weird, huh? That's a weird one. You know what we could do to make that? Having done all that, we shouldn't have worked that hard. Think with me for just a second. Let's go back. Let's go back real quick. I mean, that's true. That's okay what I did. I mean, it's right. That's the right answer. But it's way harder than you need to work on this problem. Think with me for just a second. What is 2x plus 2x? 4x, just like terms, huh? And you don't make it x squared, do you? No. Why not? Why don't you make it x squared? Not multiply. It's only when you multiply that you add powers and stuff. You're just adding, you just add the numbers in the front. You don't mess with the powers. Right? Remember all that? Okay, so what? If I was you, I'd be thinking, okay, great, so what? Well, what if it was 2xy plus 2xy? What would it be? 4xy. What if it was 2x squared y plus 2x squared y? What would it be? 4x squared. What if it was 2 funny monkey and 2 funny monkey? What would it be? 4 funny monkey. Right? If they match, they match. And you just add the numbers in the front. Well, they match. X squared c minus 4. Oops, I just messed it up. There we go. X squared c minus 4. It's 2 of those x squared c minus 4 things. And 2 more of those x squared c minus 4 things. So what do you got? 4 of those x squared c minus 4 things. They're big fancy like terms, really. That's what we should do. We shouldn't do any factoring. We should just add them. They're just big, fancy, like terms. Boom, straight to 4. Same answer, easier, quicker that way. That's a weird problem. Make a note of it. What number is that? Number 10, right? Number 10, weird. Put a star by it, whatever, when you do the homework. It'll be exact. They'll change the numbers a little bit, but it'll be virtually the same question. Just add them as like terms. That's all they are, really. It's like terms. Big, fancy like terms. Last one. Okay. So, a cubed minus 5a squared plus 9a minus 4. Try that one. Let me let you try that one. Give you a second. Okay, what do they all have in common? Nothing, right? There's no number. This just has a 1 in front. So there's no number that goes into all of them. And they don't all have a letter. This 45 has no A at all. So you with me? There is A there. There is nothing in common to all 4 of them. There's nothing in common to all 4 of them. So what? You split them. Exactly. When all 4 can't be done at once, you got to do a 2-2 split. We say, all right, just do the first 2. So 2-2 split, technically called grouping. You make 2 separate groups. So that's how you have to factor. So I don't want you to think the following thought. This would mislead you. I don't want you to think, oh, you're saying anytime there's 4 terms, we do a 2-2 split. No. Remember, we did some 4-termers back here. Where are they? There we did 4 terms. We just took out what was in common. 1 big parenthesis, done. Why? Why is this one different than the new one we're doing with 4 terms? This has something in common. They all had 5 went into all those. So I'm not saying all 4 termers are 2-2 split. This is saying no to that. What am I saying? I'm saying when they have nothing in common to all 4, then you do a 2-2 split. Right? Everybody with me? So you first say, is there something in common? No. Okay, then you better do a 2-2 split. All right, so 2-2 split. So just the first 2. What goes into just those first 2? A squared. Take out the lower power, right? What does that leave? Well, a squared times a, and a squared times minus 5. Good. All right. Now, the plus sign in the middle is important. Keep him in the middle. 9a minus 45. What goes into 9a and 45? 9. And then what works? 9 times a and 9 times negative 5. We'll go back to negative 45. Look, and it's kind of a big 9 here. Okay, we good to there? Now, we're not done at this point. Why are we not done at this point? You never want a plus sign or a minus sign outside of parentheses when you're factoring. That means you're not done. You got to do something about that. So what? Well, not only does that tell you that you're not done, it also tells you how to look at the thing. This is the separator right here. It says, look at this and look at this. Think of them as separate. What do they both have in common? Parenthesis a minus 5, huh? So again, remember, what if I had a squared x and 9x? What would I do? I'd go, well, they both got an x, and I'd put it out. And I'd cross it off, bring down a squared and 9, wouldn't I? Well, it's the same thing here. They just have a big fancy a minus 5 in common. So put it in the front, remove it, start a new set of parentheses, drop down the leftovers. A squared plus 9, done.
Does it matter what order?
It doesn't. Yeah, good question. You could put the a squared plus 9 in the front. It's the same thing. I'll say or this way. It doesn't matter. So it's option C here, isn't it? Is that good on that? It's all as well there. Questions on that? So what did we do? Let me run over. So 4 terms, nothing in common. So we did a 2-2 split. And then when we did the 2-2, we noticed a match. Now, let me give you a hint to make these quicker and easier for you. They're always going to match. They've got to, or they just couldn't make them work. So they're always going to be identical parentheses. So be thinking that when you're factoring the back part, after you've already got the front part done, you know, you look, you go, oh, parentheses, this has got to be parentheses a minus 5 as well. They always will match. And then when they match, you put one of them in the front. Remove it, bring down the leftovers. That's the answer. Let's try. Let's see. Okay, so number 12 here. So we have a cubed minus 4a squared plus 9a minus 36. So before you jump into the 2-2 split, ask yourself, is there something they all four have in common? No. Nothing in common to all four. So, yeah, go ahead, do the 2-2 split then. Because there's nothing common to all four. Do a 2-2 split. Okay, so first two, what do the first two have in common? A squared, good. Leaves behind a minus 4. So far, so good. Now, as soon as I see that parenthesis a minus 4, what do I know immediately? The other one's got to have the same thing. It's got to. So I'll just put it down, and then I'll kind of make it work. Think, okay, I got to get a plus 9a, so it's got to be plus 9, doesn't it? Does that work? 9a, 9 times 4, 36. Yeah, sure enough. So that helped me out. I knew the parentheses. I just did the parentheses first on the back two because I knew the parentheses had to be the same. I'm not done yet. One more step. How do you know you're not done? That plus sign, right? Plus sign outside of parentheses. You can't have that. You can never have loose pluses and minuses. Okay, so then you look at these two and you go, what do they both have? A minus 4. Put it in the front like that. Start a new set of parentheses. What's left over? A squared plus 9. We're done. Right? Is that good? Are we happy about that? Is that a happy thing? Okay, so try that one. 4 terms. Multitasking, watching, working, watching.
No, I already did.
That's right, you've seen this. You're just working.
No, I was doing my homework and then it disconnected.
Does it do that a lot?
Yeah.
So nothing's in common to all 4, so 2-2 split, right? Wait, oh, something is in common. What am I saying? Oh, yeah, even look at the answers, huh? Obviously, yeah, 2. Yeah, it's tricking me. That's a trick one. Yeah, I didn't notice that. I was just assuming. Yeah, don't miss that like I started to. Take out the 2 first. That's tricky. It leaves 6, a to the 3rd minus 7a squared. They're keeping us on our toes here. Plus 18a minus 21. Now, go on and do the 2-2 thing. Now, what about that 2 in the front? Don't worry about him anymore. He'll be there in the end. I mean, he's part of the answer. But now just forget about him and just do the 2-2 thing. You know what I mean? Do the 2-2 thing on the other 4. terms? So what do these two have in common? A squared, right? You with me? You see how this works? So keep going. Take an a squared out of those two. Keep going. And you're expecting the other parenthesis to match. They always match, right? Keep going, keep going. What's your name?
Why are we taking that extra step? Because we didn't do that with the...
Yeah, good questions. Everybody see? Back over here, there was nothing in common. So I just went back a problem because Ajay's question is, why are we taking the extra step? It's a good question. Look back to the last one. There was nothing in common on the first line, right? These four have nothing in common, right? They don't all go, oh, maybe you're asking, why don't we just stop right here?
Yeah.
Good question. Because we simply can go further. It's just going to work. Back over here, you might think, Mr. Aaron, a while ago we did 4 terms, and that's a great question. You're asking even a better question. Yeah, like right here. You might say, right here, you didn't like go on and do 2, 2. Yeah, I just knew it wasn't going to work. Yeah, I just know. You could try it. See if you did. Let me show you. Her question's real advanced. It's good. If you take out a b to the 4th here, that'd be b minus 3. You could start 2, but it won't work. See these two right here? What's in common to those two? Nothing. See, it choked. So it just simply doesn't work on the other. So we do it if we can. That's the simple answer. You do what you can. So on this one, I just simply know it will work. But what I mean by work is you'll get a match on the parenthesis. That's when it's green light, go. It's working, right? Because what will you take out? This will be 6a minus 7. When you take 8, what goes into 18 and 20? You just calculate if you're not sure. 18, 21, 3, right? And what does that leave? 6a minus 7. See the match? Ding, ding, ding. It's working. So when they match, then you do one more step, right? You don't leave 2 of them. Common. Pull the common to the front. That's what I mean by it's working. They're matching. So what do you put in the front? The parentheses 6a minus 7. Remove it, bring down new parentheses, bring down the leftovers. A squared plus 3. Boom, there we go. Any order, you can shuffle these around, doesn't really matter. Does that make sense on that? In fact, they did, huh? See the answer? They put the a squared plus 3 first. Same thing. Questions on that? We good? All right. A to the 6th plus a to the 5th minus a to the 3rd plus a squared. All right. Do we dive into the 2, 2 right away? No. You can tell by my tone, even if you didn't know by math. No, why not? Why don't we dive into the 2, 2 right away? What do we do first? First is always, what do they have in common? They have something in common, right? So do that first. In other words, do the one big parenthesis first. Yeah, let me write that. First, do GCF, one big parenthesis, if possible. Right? Sometimes you can't do it. Sometimes they don't have anything in common. But usually they do, or often they do. So take out first. So first do the one big parenthesis. Then try. I'm not sure it'll go. I don't think so. But try to go further after that. But I really think it's just going to be that one step. And that'll be the answer. I'll give you a second to try that. Bless you. How y'all doing? Is that working out? So all of them take the lower power, a squared, right? That leaves a to the 4th, a to the 3rd, a to the 1st, plus 1. Just 1 there. Right? Because you'd have to go to a squared times 1 to go back to a squared.
Okay, yeah.
Everybody good with that so far? Now, I think that's all we can do. Because if we tried to go further, we won't get a match. Like if you tried to do just these two, what would you do? A cubed, a plus 1. Oh, yeah, it's not going to work, but you might think it does. It won't. A plus 1, and then you try to do these two, what are you going to do? Well, it's led by a minus. It'd be minus. They have nothing in common, do they? So, yeah. No, we're done. Right here. It couldn't go further. So this is it. Does that make sense on that? Everybody good? So 2s to the 4th plus 6s squared plus 9s squared plus 27. Try that one. What's the first question you should ask on any factoring problem, really? What do they have in common? Is there, and it's often nothing, but you got to look for it, is there something they all four have in common? Is there? No. There's no number, there's no letter. The lap 27 doesn't have an S. So then go on to the 2-2, right? Go on to the 2-2 split. There's nothing that all four have in common. Go on to the 2-2. So first two, last two. Nothing in common to all four. So 2-2 split. Go on to the 2-2. Do just the first two, then the last two. Okay, so the first two, what goes into just those two? 2s squared. Right? And then what works with that? 2s squared times s squared, and 2s squared times 3. We go back to 6s squared, huh? Good so far? Now, as soon as I see parentheses here, what am I expecting back here? The same. It's got to be a match, or it doesn't work at all if it doesn't match. So I'm just going to write that down, assuming something's going to make that work. Well, okay. How do you get plus 9? Well, you put a plus 9 there. Is that right? 9s squared and 9 times 3? Beautiful. It's exactly right. It's working, which means you can do one more step. Why? Because they have these two terms. Remember, here's the separator. Pluses and minuses outside of parentheses separated into two. And they both have in common, remove it, s squared plus 3. Put one of those in the front. Bring down the leftovers. 2s squared plus 9. That's an s there. There we go. We got it right.
The name on the test is
We all good with that one? Are we happy with this? Question?